It is Star Corner where the stars align here on iBrand Daybreak. For the first person coming on the segment this morning is Taiwo Ogobowale. He's popularly known as T-Sharp. He is a Nigerian gospel singer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist. As a music minister who delights in spreading the good news in melodies, his work is easily described as a rich blend of grace and gift. He expresses this with a sense of purpose and devotion to the vision, thereby immersing his listeners into a wholesome experience attributable to an undeniable supernatural influence. Behind his status as a world-class composer and producer is an undying passion for the art and a willingness to communicate it at any chance given. Like the fruitful man in the biblical parable of the talent, Ogobowale has multiplied his musical gift through his dexterity in the playing of 6 different musical instruments. He also makes his serving more tasteful with a mix of different genres, including pop, classical, rock, R&B, and African genre. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Okay, so the last paragraph of my introduction says you're able to mix Afropop and every other genre into your music. And for someone who does gospel, that is not very popular.
Yes,
even though
it's
in the system right now, the whole genre mix thing for gospel, but it's not as popular as it used to be in the past. What brought you to that point, and why did you choose to mix it up in your music?
Yeah, because I think that music itself is entire, is total. Music is whole. People break it into genres. When a song comes to me, or when a piece of music comes to me, it doesn't introduce itself as a genre. This is pop, this is this and that. And then because I see the multilateral, multifaceted nature of music, so as a gospel singer, you would display your talent in whatever works you have. And I happen to be a very vast person. I'm a musicologist to even begin with, so I studied it. So it gives me that flavor in my songs to blend Afro feel with pop, even classical and all that, because there's always a meeting point. In every piece of music, there's always a meeting point. So that's the reason why, like you said, it is not that popular these days, but somebody has to do it. And somebody has to make it colorful for people who are not even Christians, because music knows no religion. Music knows no religion. People actually borrow from music to propagate their religions. So that's why when you're listening to a piece of music, it should be so good that you can attribute it to a particular religion. It's just a good piece that is consumable, inspiring, motivating, and just excellent. And that's my ideology.
All right, you are also a composer. I think I'm no longer surprised, because you just told me you're a musicologist.
Yes, I am.
However, these days we hear a lot of, so I got into the studio and I heard this sound and I'm like, DJ, hit it, producer. And then I'm just doing, and before you know it's music I've cooked and we are ready. But for you as a composer, what differentiates you?
The difference is actually knowledge. I come from the place of knowledge. When you are you're familiar with how notes work, how tunes work, how beats work, and how these things can come together to make a fantastic blend of of perfection. So I didn't just want to go into music like feel the inspiration. It's good to have inspiration, but inspiration is not enough. Otherwise you'll be producing monotonous sounds, and then you lose your audience quickly. As fast as you got them, you lose them, because human brain doesn't get deceived by multiple or multiplicity of instruments. It's about the sound. So when I'm doing my composition, I have to consider all that. How does this sound? How should I raise this sound? Should I combine it with this? Should I put this note and this note together? So so that when you're listening, you're like on a journey. It's transporting you to a destination, and that destination should be better than you were before you started to listen. So it's all about the knowledge that I bring into my songs.
All right, let's take it back to when you started. How long have you been doing music?
That's almost forever. Since I was a teenager, my late teenage years, I started. That's like more than 25 years now. So I've been there from the church. I started from the church, so my story is not that very different from many people. When you are raised in a typical African home, you are told to know God. You are taught to know God, and you are taught to go to church. So the church played a very big role in my musical life. I was just there wanting to absorb everything. I want to know how to play these instruments, and that informed my multi-instrumentalist nature. So I was just there taking it in, and one thing I didn't like was to be in a church service and then they needed someone to play an instrument and is nowhere to be found. So I always made myself available to plug into those loopholes just for the service to be fantastic. So that was how I began. And then growing up, I went to school, had my degree, but the music was still there. So I went back to study musicology. So in other words, I'm like a double degree holder. When you have to fulfill your parents' wish, then you fulfill your own wish.
What did they want you to study?
Incidentally, my daddy wanted me to be a doctor. But of course, I didn't want to be a doctor. I wanted to be a scientist or an engineer. So I eventually went for electrical electronics, had a diploma, then I crossed over to the university for computer science. So when I was through with that, I had to go back to study my musicology. And here I am today.
Yeah, I just love this narrative you painted, because it really ignited one or two questions in my mind. Now, the first one is looking at the fact that you're this dressed, corporately dressed. One can mistaken you to be a banker, because you're well dressed. Right? You're not dressed like an artist or a musician, as the case may be.
I'm just dressed for the interview.
Okay. Oh, so there's a t-shirt that is waiting outside.
Trust me.
Nice.
All right, I would have wanted to ask, what actually led you into this career of music? That's one. Then two, you are actually a gospel artist, and you quite understand that for your genre, it has a category, like it's in stages. We have the indigenous gospel music, we have the foreign, and we also have if I'm not mistaken, the other one, it's in three phases. I'm going to remember that. Which among the three did you fall into?
Incidentally, I'm actually, you'll find a bit of me in any of these genres.
Really?
Because I do not approach music as a genre. Like I told you, I approach music, as the entirety of it. So I just take out. I don't discriminate. You can play an akpala beside me and I'll look for something nice out of it. You can play an area music and I'll look for something nice out of it, because there's a piece in every song that is beneficial to everyone.
So you don't really have a major,
I don't have a major, but what I try to preserve in my music is my heritage.
Okay.
A Lagosian, a Yoruba boy who has some Edo roots. So in my songs, you will find some Yoruba tunes. Even the language, it's going to be there. you find some tunes from Edo, and I have flair for languages.